And now, it's time for another Dice Tower review with Ryan Metzler.
Hey everyone, it's Ryan Metzler here again, and today we're going to take a look at yet another one of the wooden games in the Maranda two-player abstract line, and that is Abacan. Most likely named after the fact that this game looks like an abacus. Now, the game is very simple. You're simply going to move 1, 2, or 3 beads on your turn and hope to be the person who's not the last person to move a bead. So you want to force your opponent to be the last person to be able to move a bead on their turn. In doing that, you're going to win, and that's pretty much the gameplay, but real quick, I'll show you how the game plays and what you get inside that box, and then I'll come back here and give you my final opinions on it. So here you can see the setup for Abacan. This is everything you get in the box. It's this nice wooden piece with a base that it sits on. It comes pre-assembled, and it's a very nice looking table piece. You can see this would be a great conversation piece on a table, but it's basically a giant abacus, and it's got some of the most simple rules I've ever seen in a game, which really works out for it. It's not the heaviest of strategy games, but it's one you can teach to pretty much anyone. The rules are thus. On your turn, you may slide 1, 2, or 3 beads on any one row. So you can choose any of these rows. Obviously, if you choose the top row, you can only slide 1. But on any of the other rows, you have your choice of 1, 2, or 3 beads. On your turn, you must slide 1, 2, or 3 beads. And when you do so, you're simply going to move them to the other side on one row. And it's going to be your opponent's turn, who then has a choice of sliding 1, 2, or 3 beads. So maybe they slide this one. Then it's back to you, and maybe you slide these 3. And essentially the whole goal here is to not be the last person to slide a bead. You don't want to be left with the 1 bead at the end of the game, because if you are, you will lose. So maybe we continue on, we slide like this, and then the opponent slides like that. We slide this one, and our opponent slides these 3. We slide these 2, and our opponent slides these 3. And then we slide this 1, our opponent slides this 3, and we lose because 1 bead is left over, making us the loser of the game. So there you have Abacan, a very quick 2-player game from Maranda Games. Now this is a very, very simple game. You simply move those beads and your turn is done. And it's so simple that you can play it in the car on, for example, your way back from Gen Con. That's how I learned the game. We can play it that quick, and really we didn't figure out too much strategy for it, except for towards the very end of the game where you have a certain number of beads, and then there's definitely some strategy to how many beads you move and on which row you move them on. I like the game. It's very light. It's not my favorite of the Maranda 2-player games, but as a 1 discussion piece out on the table, it's beautiful, and 2, it's so quick and so easy to teach that you really don't waste any time by learning and playing it, and it's still an enjoyable experience.
Thanks for watching our review today. For more information about board games, as well as the #1 board game audio podcast, check out Dicetower.com for reviews, interviews, and more. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower.